I want to talk about a series of things to start off with. I posted something earlier for my post for my students. Hopefully you had a chance to read it. It's a long read, but that's kind of what this is part of tonight and what I'm doing tonight. Anyways, let's go back. First of all, I need to thank my daughter here, Amanda, and my son Garth for helping out tonight. It's greatly appreciated. It's out of their time, so I'm thankful. All right. And so the other is to kind of tell part of the story here is, first of all, I'm grateful that I'm able to do what I'm doing. And next of all, my mom and dad got me this kit for Christmas. Okay. So later down the road, I just want to share with you why I'm going into tooling this particular belt tonight. This particular belt tonight is something that was a big event in my life that I'm just really grateful for. And something that I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for this gentleman that we're talking about right now. But anyway, so the point is, my mom and dad got me a set for Christmas, and I was able to do it, go to craft shows and fairs, etc., work for Tandy Leather, and then leaving Tandy Leather, I had a gentleman that came out to my mom and dad's farm, because we were raised on farms, had, different animals, chickens, of course, and people would come and pick up the eggs for this gentleman, and we would deer hunt in the fall, so we couldn't come and get him. So he had came to my parents' house, and that's how this all started, about me having M&M leather. Okay, so anyways, what this comes down to is lost my belt there. Anyways, what comes down to that is that's part of the reason that story was put in on our site, for you to read. So what I want to talk about tonight is these particular people that have helped me over the years, and not just with this leather shop. I had an experience with a couple men that had to help me do things around the yard here, and that was because of losing my sight with retina surgery. So if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here either, because of losing my sight. And then another gentleman in Colorado that basically he's my prayer partner. And so there's very few of these belts that I'm doing, and this happens to be one of the 5th belt that I've ever done with this design. And this is because of this reason. So anyways, what I'm going to do is tool a belt here for a gentleman. He might be watching tonight, he might not. But anyways, it's something that's really special. It means something to me, and we're hoping that you get something out of it tonight from the story you hopefully read that was posted on my class site earlier today. So we need to get into the lesson, and we'll start tooling, and let's go. So anyways, here's the design that we're going to be working with. I've cut 1 3/8 inch belt, okay, 9/10 ounce cowhide. And what we're going to do is tool a particular design that I talked about earlier. So what I'm going to do is name the tools off that we'll be using. There will be one tool that wouldn't be available because, of course, it was something that I purchased elsewhere, and others that I have been custom made just for me. But the first tool we'll be using is a craft tool. I'll say it slow, craft tool company, or
Crafted, Japan. And the number on the tool is G as in George 548. And there's what it looks like. It has a point, 4 little arms on it, a little like a checker box, like the checks mark there. And that was actually craft tool mated as well. So, and then when Kelly tools came around, which Midas tools, they came up with something similar, basically copying, and their number is 228. 228. That's a Kelly tool, or they call it Midas, of course, which a lot of crafters know it by Midas, but the actual maker of the tool is Kelly Tool Company. So when you look online for that, that's who you look for. But you'll see it's real similar. And this one is actually easier to tool because the excess metal is gone in between the 4 arms here, I call it. So you can write down in there and cut into it and do a good job for you. It has less resistance, and it's simply easier to do your tooling. Okay, and so before we go on, I'm going to show you mine. This is one that was done by Custom Leather Tools of Texas. Okay, made from stainless, and there you can kind of see how that's made. A little different to the center, but has a very nice beveled edge, comes to a point. But the point is not just because it's a special tool, it's because of doing it for a living. These other tools are great, but when you're doing this and other patterns, not just this 6 belt that I've done, it simply doesn't hold up, of course. So these tools are, 95, 110, 150, it's something that it's not necessary to pay for when you're a crafter, and that's the reason I tell you these numbers first, the 548 and the 228, I think I said. Yeah, the 228 Kelly tool. So it's going to hold up because I use it, probably hit it a million times. So we'll get started with that first tool. And what I've done, you'll need your wing dividers here. 6-inch wing dividers is what I'm using. It's not really necessary, the length of it. But let me wet the leather here. So what I did here is I purposely drew 2 lines, okay? The furthest inner line that you see here, can everybody see this without me, interrupting? Is it close for everybody? Anyways, when you're first learning, it's better to go with the outer line here, because these 4 points, you can set them on there for guidance, okay? And then when you get better, which believe me, it takes a long time. It's then, so you can try to cut the line off. Do not put this line, but then bring your wing divider in and mark this line here. So when this area of the stamp, the outer edge of that little box, that will end up cutting the line completely off, So don't get worried, because the next tool we use will resolve both of these here. Sometimes it can move around on me, and you're going to see that, of course, already here. That kind of tipped and cocked a little bit, and of course, but let me give you a measurement. This is 1 3/8, and we're setting at approximately a half inch opening in the center. That's a half inch with a 1 3/8 outer cut. Because if you recall last week, we were talking, you have to cut it underneath. So when you tool it, it's bound to stretch a little bit, so it still fits the buckle when you're done. So anyways, I'll do a little demo here, and then we'll get started on the belt. I'm going to get the belt prepped here first, so that can be ready for me for as we go so I can keep on around. And as you seen last time, you wet it heavier to the tip. So as you work, you don't have to continue to stop and grab rag to wet the leather. So we'll lay that up here aside for now, and we're going to wet this up here. And of course, warm water, not cold or hot. And there again, like I've always said, and I repeat this all the time, is try to keep your little finger to the bottom if you can, and grip the tool tightly so you're feeling the depth that's going in. And what I like to do is set the points on there so it's square right on in, and then set it down, and it should be ready to go right on the other side. And you can see that was quite a pop. And I'm holding back in this area on the mallet, not here, which I use a lot, or up here for tapping. By holding back here, you're going to get a lot of drive and power when you're hitting a tool like that. And you can see the depth you get out of that. So, because that's going to get bunched up a little bit with the tool that goes in. And that's another reason for doing that. I'm going to go back in and kind of give a little more depth to these. Okay, so now that first tool is done. It's not too bad. Definitely, as we say, you've got to keep darkness into here in order to have the stain, the antiquing stay down into your work. As you got to see last week's design, I got that finished up a few days ago for everybody to see. So you know the results of it. For now, the next tool, I believe my daughter will be posting these up. This is F is in Frank 926H is in Harold. And Crafted Japan makes it. I believe Craft Tool does. And both of those, you can get either one, like the one at Tandy or the other one from Springfield Leather. This was from Springfield Leather. And believe it or not, I actually like that better because it has a little bigger handle, a little more grip, and it cuts really nice. It's a sweet tool. So, and that's what you want. You want something that works with you, not against you. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set it carefully right above that tool and tap it. And so as you can see, we just cut the line off that we use to guide ourselves by. So then you do it here. It's something that it's really simple and it's really nice to do even on a 1 1/4 inch, 1 1/2. I mean, if you're going to go into a 1 3/4, you definitely want to bring in another tool because, there'd be so much bare leather to the outer edge. And as you've seen, I set that up just a tiny bit. So when the tool drops, it takes that line completely off there for us. Okay, so now we'll turn that around. There again, this is F 926H. There again, I'm staying back on the handle and I'm basically letting my wrist do the work. I don't have to really move my arm a whole lot there. Okay, so now you can see that outer line I drew. We've now cut that line directly off for us, which makes it sweet, makes it look professional. People say, wow, how did you do that? Well, you just found out how you do that. So basically, even that is beautiful. you know? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that put onto my belt before I go on to the next step, showing you. First of all, I got to put my line onto the belt here. Excuse my arm, it's probably going to be in the way. And I'm actually cheating right now. I'm not moving my arm. It's from experience. I got the belt strip. Just so you know, I got the belt strip up against my nylon. I got my finger, up here holding it. And then I'm holding the wing dividers in position. I'm not moving the wing dividers. I'm simply pulling the belt through and it's marking. So, of course, it makes it quicker and I don't elbow you. So, but that's just from years of doing it. I wouldn't, suggest someone doing that that's just learning. Okay, so mine is good. Okay, so let's get down here. And so I get to see all of this where it folds. I'm just kind of baby tap it at an angle. And so even when they fold that down, they can still see a belt design just as if it went all the way around. And of course it isn't, but that's the purpose of putting it there. That's just kind of one of my little, I guess, fortes I've always done. So anyways, we'll get started here. Boy, this mallet is, I'm not happy with it right now. It's not want to cooperate, but there we go. As you can see, it's coming along fairly nice. Some decent depth there. So I hope everybody's weekends went well. Anyways, as I was kind of sharing a little bit earlier, the gentleman that gave me the opportunity to move forward after I worked at Tandy Leather, he had came out to my parents' farm, got the eggs, and talked. When you love leather so much, besides working for a big company, and the reason I had to leave, which I left, and I was into it very seriously. I love my job, but unfortunately, the boss or manager became jealous of my knowledge, and it's really too bad because I could have went a bit further with Tandy back in the days because I had investments in it and all that, So unfortunately, they missed out. But see, when I was hired in, I was 18 years old. And of course, I started in 5th grade at 10 years old. And so when people would come into Tandy, eventually says, well, I'll just wait, I'll speak to Doug. And of course, that affected the relationship with my boss and me. And of course, in the busier times, my bonuses were much bigger because of the amount of material and goods I was selling because of that. So needless to say, I left there and I was back home and still doing it and going to fairs and festivals and that. And as I was saying, this gentleman came out to get eggs, and he gave me the opportunity. He couldn't believe the workmanship and the quality of it. And the other part of it is he had a son. He has a couple sons, one son. He wanted to help him and going forward too. He thought that as far as about the same age, be example for him as well as myself, and kind of help each other there. So, and that worked out very good. And as you read, I believe a few people have read the story today, and it came from M&M Leather. And so, of course, his father, the gentleman that came out and got the eggs, this is the gentleman. I don't want to say his name because I haven't asked permission. But needless to say, he put me, helped me go on business, So then over time, that's how I had my career and having my own leather business called M&M Leather. Anyways, and I'm almost there. I'm going to hit it a few more times. As you see, I'm just coming into the area that's starting to dry up. So I'm going to go to about here and then stop, and then we'll wet it going down. And before we go tonight, I'm saying it now so my son helps reminds me is for our holster class, I'm just give everybody a tip that's doing the holster with me. Just a tip that maybe you can tinker with in your spare time before the kid arrives and before I get it sent out to you, because it's something that you can just practice with a piece of leather, not the holster itself, and get the same results. It's simply to learn the experience and help you. So when we do the kit, it's actually an option for us to do during class. And it makes the holster look nicer and plus stronger. So I just wanted to give a heads up to you, because that's going to actually make it pretty cool. Any questions so far? Okay, so we're a little over halfway along with this one. This is probably the toughest one of it. The next two kind of goes fairly smooth for us. So we'll get back at everybody can see this all right? Me holding it where I'm setting it. Amanda. Okay. See, sometimes you might have to hit it 3 times, just depends. That time I had to be holding a little more to one side than the other, so I had to go back, tap that, and again. The reason I'm not getting into it really strong is because it's a little on the wet side. So I'm playing it safe and just kind of tapping it and not as strong. It probably doesn't look like it or sound like it. I'd say that. It's coming into an area here that I'll be able to start picking up the strength of the swing here. I'm not sure how this story will end up, but it's quite a story to say, talk, and share, because at parts of it, it was probably one of my toughest times in my life that I had to deal with emotionally. And so you'll just have to bear with me. But if you've read what I shared on the site tonight, you already know what I'm talking about. I know there's people out there that's going to watch this on YouTube. They're going to see it happen and they're going to hear me talk about it, but they're not going to be as fortunate as you or the people in my class. And that's, I really wanted to share the story in detail on my site to my private students, not the public. But at least they have a rough idea of what I'm telling them, because I might not be able to remember all of it, especially focus and concentrating on my work here. But schools, of course, they have programs during high schools for co-op and education where they go to different businesses, and the responsibility of learning and operating a business, from doing the paperwork to doing marketing, to do the labor and the work, and just a series of things, of course, running the cash register, of course, stuff of that nature. So anyways, this boy came to my shop through the high school program. So he was going to be with me a year, and of course have to teach him everything step by step, what to do, from the books and marketing and sales and contacts, how to set up campsites, etc., etc. There's hundreds and hundreds of things that he ended up gradually doing. But he, then of course the other part is he learned how to tool leather, stamp leather, and things of that nature, which I seen, and of course I learned firsthand, and I got to experience something that was it's really hard to explain. It really makes you think with your heart how fortunate you really are. But hang for a moment here. If you can grab my phone and look up the message from your Aunt Jan, and then send that to Amanda, and then she can tell them what it is. It's the bottom name. Anyways, I'm having my daughter pick up the message that was sent to me from my sister and my niece, which is an RN, and they know the name of it, and so that's why I excuse myself. So when we tell you this, or my daughter tells you, you know what it is I'm talking about. But anyways, to visually look and experience what I got to see was a young man that was learning to tool and stamp leather for me, that as he would stamp and tool leather, it was very, very, very hard for him. But of course, he had to learn that because that was part of his learning process with my business, which was M&M leather. So anyways, as me, Doug Monroe here, as I watch this young man learn, looking at his arms, I'm going to baby tap this just so we look finished going out here right off the tip, but we're going to make sure we stay with our depth. You see, I'm not holding it straight. The reason is if I did that, it would smash it and possibly bulge the edge. So that's why I'm kind of baby tapping it. So I still got some depth there. And over here, it needs a little bit. And there we are. And once that's finished with edging there, that, it's not going to matter. So anyways, we'll go into the next step. Did you find that already? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Anyways, so now we can continue on is when he would go to stamp a tool, and we'll start out first of all with this next tool because it's a better example, and because when I start talking, it's going to seem like exaggeration, but anyways, a tool such as this, that when we were talking about the F926H, it's probably what would you say, 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch? Okay, so anyways, that young man, there again, as you'll see right here, we're just going to baby tap that. So it looks finished. And now we're going to set it right above it and then hit it and cut the line right off it that we just used to mark it so we can keep it nice and straight and look professional. But anyways, for example, this young boy, if you notice, I'm actually tapping this gently, of course, a little on the moist side, but I mean, seriously, you can practically, and you see that was just the mallet dropping. Okay, so that just tells you how much it doesn't take a whole lot to tap that in. And I'm being careful because it's a little wet, of course. But to explain it, this boy, it would take him 3 times, if not 4 times, to set that tool into that piece of leather and make it look like that. And I just had to be strong, saying I can do this. I got to be patient. I'm here for this boy. I'm here to help him learn. It's not just about the paperwork or these other things, So it would take him 3 or 4 hits to set that, or the proper term, seat it into the leather. Okay. And for example, the first tool we put down, okay, it would probably take him in the neighborhood of 5 to 7 times to hit the tool. And that young man at 17 years old at that time, he had determination, he had drive, he had, support from his mother, friends, and, he taught me a lot how well to appreciate things. So as I just said, I had to be very patient as I did it and help him. And he was with me just over a year. And so he tooled many of things from, our traditional, like a coaster, a wristband. And then I had him do a wallet. And the reason I always do that is people learn beating on a heavy piece of leather, a middleweight piece of leather, and then a lightweight piece of leather. Okay, so believe it or not, every weight, every thickness of leather is going to change the amount of swings or the strength of the swing you're going to hit that tool. And just like videos back, you recall, I demonstrated to a gentleman that was struggling with his wallet stretching too much and getting really distorted. And what it was is, one, he was hitting it too hard, and the other thing was it was too wet, of course. So anyways, that's why it's good when you're learning to start out with 3 different thicknesses of leather, because you're teaching yourself, you're learning 3 tools, 9 types of swings of your mallet or hammer, because you're going to have to learn how to hit a bigger tool, a medium-sized tool, and a small intricate tool into a heavy piece of leather, a middleweight piece of leather, and a light piece weight of leather, such as a wallet, Bible cover, etc. Sometimes Bible covers can be a little bit heavier. But to move on, over time, he learned to do sales and that. And then we're getting into the season of Christmas time, and he's learning to help a little more and learn how to sell a little more and write receipts, so on and so forth. Get a little bit here moving. How we doing on the time?
They're at 6:47.
Okay.
So it's been about 30 minutes or so.
Say it again.
It's been about 35 minutes or so. We have about 25 left.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so as we continue here, we're putting F926H down on top of course, the G548 craft tool, G548, or what was that, 229?
It was 228 Kelly tool. That's what you're talking about.
It was 220 or 229, but anyways, so we'll get back to the story. Is I say it was quite an experience for me. Anyways, I talked to him because it was on my heart. Do you want to do something unique? You want to do something special? And the reason I said that is because I got to experience it, and it was. I know it ends up being rewarding, and it's something you'd never forget. And the reason I did this is George Bush Sr. Okay, I took the time and tooled a real nice fancy doorbell ringer for the White House in Washington, and put 3 big German bells on it that go on like a big horse collar, etc. And so what happened is, weeks later, I got a beautiful Christmas card hand signed by Mr. and Mrs. Barbara Bush. And I thought, wow, that would be really cool for him to do something like that. So I mentioned it to him, and he said, yeah, that would be fun. That'd be neat. And his mother said, yeah, that would be good. You'd probably enjoy that, because that was something like outside the realm. I wanted to get it okayed with the parents to do something like that. So he said that would be great. That'd be neat. It'd be a great experience for him. So that's what we did. And it took him probably, a couple weeks maybe as a project, doing that, little by little. Because, he had to, it just wasn't something like you would buy in a store, a big clicker die would punch it out and you go buy one and start doing it. It's something you had to cut out by hand. And of course, you'd have to square the piece of leather, get your strap cutter or a rotary knife or a hide knife and cut the length, make a pattern for the top so it looks nice and the bottom. Get the hole location put for where the little strap is going to mount on the top to hang on the door. Then, of course, he had to practice the designated area where he's going to do the tooling on it. And of course, he had to practice that. And keep in mind, as you see me tooling, I just explained how many times it took him to seat a tool or set the tool or stamp the tool in. So we'll flip this baby around. I'm really happy. It's looking really nice. So we'll flip this around. You can see this is getting pretty dry down here. So there again, we're going to work from the tail end, voice left to right. Okay, I think we're ready. I'm gonna go down this one more time, get a little more wet down to this end, because when we reach down here, we'll be ready to go. Okay. So is there any questions at this point? See, if we look here now, I'm not sure if you can see that, but we've got about 1/16 of an inch we gained from tooling the big tool, because that's quite a tool you're punching in there, a lot of force. So we've gained 1/16 of an inch, just for example. So we'll get back to the story here. So as he was doing his project, and by the way, I guess we can say that we're from Michigan, of course. And at that time, it was Governor Blanchard during that time and day of our political field. I was trying to think of the right word to use there. So anyways, Governor Blanchard. So that's who he was making this doorbell ringer for the state capital of Michigan, is where this doorbell ringer was or is going, and did get there, of course. But anyways, he continues to work on it over a couple weeks, and we left off where he has traced the ends of it and cut it off nice and fancy. And then we got the German bells, and okay, we're going to have 2, or we're going to have 3. And that depended on location and size of his tooling pattern that he was going to put on it, which I let him pick that out. And so we decided to go with 3 bells. One, because it looked nice, but I think honestly from the heart, 3 bells was a little less tooling. And I think you know the reason why. Okay, so anyways, what he did is he created a pattern, and we marked the location and put it where it needs to be. And of course, he had to judge, because just because you put a hole there, and this is in detail, and I share this in detail so you can learn as well. Just because you put a hole and that's where the bell's going to go, it doesn't mean you start the tooling such right after that. And the reason being is I then had to take the 2-inch German bell, which I put on, big Clydesdale horses and stuff of that nature, because that's going to block the view of his tooling. So he had to put that in and kind of have to hold it up and judge where the tooling loses view. And of course, I'm sure you can see by my work, it's detail. So once we got that figured out, he was able to put the other 2 holes underneath of there for the second and third bell. So once he done that, then he practiced his tooling for his own pattern that he wanted to put on the doorbell ringer for Mr. and Mrs. Rich. I think it was Richard was his name, Richard Blanchard. And so, because hard to think to get to do something like that. So he really took his time and thought it out, and he really did a good job. And so what was really unique that, I wanted the boy to learn, because it's really rare to do something like this. And what I had him learn on top of his tooling is, in that era, I was building mini guitar straps, very fancy, but in some very generic. But what I wanted him to learn was to do 3-dimensional snakeskin, where you take, a piece of leather that was a 10-ounce, which was cut out of the blank of the doorbell ringer. He then had to glue it up 50%, a piece of 4 5-ounce onto the back of that. Reason being, so when he shoved it back up through, it gave it a 3-dimensional view, which just makes it look gorgeous. So anyways, it wasn't just your traditional stamp a few tools here and there and dye it and send it off. He was able to learn a lot, from tooling to dyeing to sealing to antiquing to grooving leather to do 3D snake. I mean, this young boy went all out, and the 2 of us spent a lot of quality time together. We had it's tough. We had a great time together learning, me teaching him. But anyways, he got it all together, and we got a picture of it. And of course, his mother still has a picture. I'm sure I didn't get one. But anyways, he writes a little letter, and we go over it, check it. His mom checks it to put in the box to wish, Mr. and Mrs. Blanchard Merry Christmas, so on and so forth, for them to hang this doorbell ringer on over at the Capitol in Lansing, Michigan. So anyways, we got it sent off UPS to him. Definitely not the post office today, haha. But anyways, got it sent over there, and they received it, of course, because we had notification that they got it. Security signed for it. And so in the end, the young man, there again, we're going to baby tap this so it looks like it's blending right off into that fold. Okay, so now we'll go right from this end so you get to see it. I think we did pretty good there. So there again, that would be the G548 and then the F926H. Okay, so now we're getting down towards the end here, which is the easy part. So, and this normally, just so you know, normally I would take the Kelly 305 diamond, which, geez, these things are so rare to try to find today. But anyways, normally I would set this in standing up right in this location, just like this. Okay, and when it's done, it's beautiful. So I'm going to wet this and show you. So I think I got the time to work with here for you folks to see. Little on the wet side, but this is really setting up sweet. I really like the look of that. But what we'll do now is take the 305 diamond and we'll stand it up on its end. And there again, what I'm doing here so you can see is I'm using this right here for guidance.
Hey, let me know when I can come in for a second. You have a question? I think it's Javier because it says iPhone, so I think that's him. It says, what makes the leather bounce off the granite when you hit the tool?
I didn't know it bounced, but I didn't notice it bouncing. I mean, it was probably the mallet making it bounce, but I mean, this granite is almost 4 inches thick here. I'm really surprised.
Oh, hold on. I know what he's talking about because I experienced this when Doug tries to make me tool sometimes when I was younger. So like, you know how your tool bounces when you're not in, like your tool doesn't bounce. I think he's having issues with his tool bouncing. Is that correct? Does that make sense, Dad?
Yeah.
Like if you're not holding it firm, it bounces.
Right. Well, two things, and you can is definitely the strength of the grip, and then how you're holding the tool here to feel it, you know, as it's going in. But sometimes when you come down, and if you know, say you come down square, it's usually going to go in there every time, excluding how hard you swing to give it the depth, you know. That's a little deeper. There I'm tapping it. You can see the difference here. This one I'm really going to hit. But I totally understand, Javier. I mean, they're very hard, especially 3D. But what it is, it's really how square you hit the top of the tool is the first thing, because you can see even with myself when I'm hitting this huge tool, the power I'm putting into this mallet. Sometimes my hammer tips a tiny bit, comes down because of the force of my arm bringing it down. And that's the purpose of gripping that tool the way you do. And there again, all 4 fingers here, the bottom, it's supported tremendously. And that's what's going to hold the tool in position so it can't jump. And so that's really what it boils down to, the strength of your hand and how square you hit it. And it takes years and years of doing it, especially when you do 3D stamps. I mean, those are hard. I can show you those too someday. But yeah, I totally understand. It's frustrating, especially if you're halfway down a belt and the tool jumps. It seems like you just ruined the whole belt. I totally understand. Is millions and millions and millions of times I've hit tools. I can tell you thousands of times I've jumped tools. So instead of the diamond here today, and as I said, I'm going to put today I'm going to put a cross in here. Okay. The reason being, I kind of shared that a little bit with you. This is something that, you know, really means a lot to me. These were people that were special to me, that helped me out in different ways. So it's just not about grabbing a diamond, throwing a diamond in here. So this is like number 6 in my years of doing this tooling pattern that I've ever put a cross in here. And that's the purpose of it. Because if it wasn't for this gentleman helping me, I wouldn't be standing here today telling you this story. And I'm grateful, first of all, for God thanking me with this talent, to my children being here, 3, my mom and dad getting me the beginner set and putting up with all the noise banging in the house. And then most of all, this gentleman that gave me the opportunity to show him that I could run and operate a business and do my leather work as well. And some of you know, such as you, I believe, Javier, all these things I've done throughout the world with this work. And there again, if it wasn't for the gentleman here, I wouldn't be doing this right now. So that's why this is so kind of meaningful and from the heart doing this tonight, and why a cross is going in this. And like I say, this is, if I believe so, this is the 6th belt that's ever had this cross put in. So I'm sure this gentleman, when he gets it, he'll know where I'm coming from. So there again, with the cross here, it's very shallow, not a lot of depth here. So it packs the leather down around it because there's not a lot of depth here in the cross when you made it. At one time, I know customers here or people here in my class are going to ask, where did you get that? Years ago, when it was called the Leather Factory, then changed into Tandy Leather, they had a called Inspirational Set. Okay. And that happened to be in that set. And that's where I got it. And then second of all, they always have sharp little corners. And there again, if you look closely, I took a file and hit every one of those corners off. So with me as my swinging, of course, I would end up having a square all the time. So that's the reason I filed that too. So it can obtain me swinging my mallet and not get a square. So we're going to get down to business here and set this last stamp in. And there again, your little finger all the way to the bottom. And I'm going to use this right here. Basically the same line we drew on to set the first tool. That's where you're going to set the bottom of that stamp.
Okay, we're running at about an hour now, Dad, just so you're aware.
So as you can see what it does right there. It's a beautiful, beautiful tool. So this just will take a matter of a moment here. But to finish the story, and I wanted to keep it to the end because it can be very tough. Excuse me. Anyways, the young boy that worked for me that made the doorbell ringer got to Lansing. He got a Christmas card back. He was so excited. He was so happy, grinning ear to ear. And let me just say, it touched my heart. I knew that that boy was just glowing from top to bottom, and his mom was so proud of him. And so, of course I was, it made me feel good that I could teach him. And you can see that is just coming along beautiful. So there again, it's not going to take me long to get down here. So I'm going to try to work it out for us. So anyway, we're coming into the tough part here. It's now after Christmas. He's having friends over to his house, and he's, he's happy. He's excited. It's Christmas. He got this card back from the governor thanking him and for making that doorbell ringer, how beautiful it was, how nice it was. And boy, oh boy, he was happy. And I was very proud of the boy. But anyways, he's off for Christmas and New Year's and has his friends over, and they're visiting and playing video games and having pizza and just really enjoying time together with his friends. And anyways, as they were having pizza, this young man started choking on a slice of pizza. And as he was choking, it wasn't looking good. Things weren't happening for him. He couldn't swallow. He couldn't swallow. We're gonna wet it here just slightly because we're getting down here to the nitty gritty. So anyways, the boy is choking on the pizza, and the mother, the friends realized things ain't gonna happen. They're not gonna be able to help. So they got an ambulance and picked him up. And as we were traveling to the hospital, they lost him, and then they revived him and got him back. Thank God. But what happened is they got to the hospital, they got him out, got him put on the table, and called Children's Hospital, Detroit, Michigan, because of the boy's condition. And I'm hoping with the way I'm talking, my daughter has gave you the information, the name of this.
I didn't know if you wanted me to say it out loud, so that's why I was waiting.
Sure. As soon as I get to the end, you can tell him in what his body looks like. But anyways, as they're traveling, as I said, they lost him, they revived him, they got him back. And I was in the hospital, and they call Children's Hospital of Detroit, and the helicopter's on his way. They go to try to bring him back again because they lost him for the second time. And the gentleman in emergency pushed too hard and blew the young boy's lung. And the young boy died on the table. And of course, I didn't know this at first. And getting here to the end, holding myself together here. This is like the end of January. The lady, his mother, comes in and shows me a picture of her son holding a Christmas card that he got. Then she's at the front counter. I'm at the second counter as she's talking. And she's telling me that Michael's, I just said his name. I'm so sorry. That she just lost her son, Michael. And then she told me the story, what happened. But as she told the story, I was in disbelief. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And there again, I virtually went to the floor, and I couldn't handle myself. It was disbelief. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You know, just weeks ago, he's in smiling, glowing, happy as can be, so proud of what he's done. And, you know, and then the mother coming in and telling me that story. So I just felt in my heart that we simply all need to be thankful. We're never guaranteed our next breath. And that with the way things are today, I mean, I'd rather see someone at home doing leather work and me showing this, volunteering my time to do something to keep your mind busy and to have a good time and enjoy things, because you're never guaranteed. And with this experience, it just, I don't know what else to say, but my daughter Amanda can tell you the name of it, and then the name that's more understandable, because there's a medical name and then there's the other name. But the to give you an idea, his arm, his body, you could see his bones through the skin of his body. You could see the structure of the bone because his skin was so thin. And we're talking hands, everything. And then his back, which was really different. If you took a football and cut it horizontally and you placed it on your back between your shoulder blades, that's what was on his back as well. And during this year of time, I did my utmost to hold myself together and help this young boy and see him accomplish something in his life, and that put a smile on his face like I got to see before he passed. And I'll just leave it at that. I hope everybody enjoyed class, and I enjoyed sharing my story.
Okay, and real quick, it's either EDS, which is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or brittle bone disease, which is osteogenesis imperfecta. So those were the two names Doug wanted me to share with you. Thank you all for showing up tonight. I know he really appreciates it. We will try to get this uploaded to YouTube tonight, if not sometime this weekend. And we will see you guys next week. Have a good night.